Thank you, Mark, for your very inspiring, sobering and challenging presentation. Could I also just welcome members who are not members of Fine Gael to the room as well, and in particular I want to welcome Paul Freeney from G-Force and to compliment Paul for the excellent conference that you had last year in Dublin Castle, and could I also welcome Adam Long from the NGLF and from the Labour Party as well, and also just to welcome Ross and Scott who are here and Francis in their media roles. You're very welcome indeed. Our next speaker is a person I had the pleasure of meeting recently, and I must say that in sitting down and having a cup of coffee with her, it didn't feel like we were there for an hour. It was an absolutely enthralling, interesting and absolutely wonderful conversation, and I very much was delighted that Catherine Vaughan took up her invitation to speak here this afternoon. Catherine is the Director of Quality Risk Management with Ernst & Young. She is one of the founding members of the firm's LGBT network, Eagles, and as a person, I have to say, in reading about her, but also in meeting her, I found her to be a very warm, engaging person who has got a great vision, not just of the LGBT community, but also of the business world. And in her career, she has experience working with large multinational organisations as well as the smaller family-run businesses, and her experience comes from and stems from her background and her qualification as a chartered accountant, and her current role with Ernst & Young sees her travel a large geographical area, and she is somebody whom I think you will watch for in the business pages in years to come. She is a person I know will challenge us this afternoon and will engage with us, but more importantly, she will leave with us a very positive impression of what it is like to be a member of the LGBT community within the business world. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome and to ask Catherine Vaughan to speak.
Thank you very much indeed for that extremely warm and generous welcome. It's an absolute pleasure for me to have been invited to speak to you today, and I'd like to thank Jerry very much sincerely. Celebrating a year of Fine Gael's LGBT group is an important milestone, not only for the party but for politics and for the country. And I congratulate you sincerely on taking the first brave steps on what is a difficult journey. Brave steps which many of us have taken in our personal lives, and brave steps which many of us are asking our friends and colleagues to take with us now. The title of Jerry's conference today is Where Equality Matters. And so I'd like to pose the question, where does equality matter? For me, it's a simplistic answer, but it's everywhere. Often, the most simple answers are the most effective. Diversity in the workplace is crucial to business success, and something Ernst & Young not only talks about, but takes to its very heart as a way that we can truly demonstrate that we want to develop all of our people, that we truly live our values. It is more than a catchphrase. It's more than just a nice to have. It makes good business sense. And diversity is not contained to LGBT. Diversity includes everybody. Difference comes in many forms and should be celebrated, whether it is our sex, our faith, our nationality, or sexual orientation. The word different or minority simply must be irrelevant in the workplace. If all of our colleagues look, feel, sound, act the same, where is the challenge? Where is the imagination? Where is the diversity? By encouraging diversity and equality in the workplace, you allow your employees to bring their whole self to work. And bringing your whole self to work will in itself bring diversity, challenge, fresh ideas, and hopefully, the watchword of the moment, growth. But what does bringing your whole self to work actually mean? Well, for me, it's simple. For me, it's about being authentic. For me, bringing your whole self to work means not having to apologize, not having to hold back, and not having to expect to be disregarded because of your sexuality, because of your difference. When you're preoccupied, worried, or constantly challenging yourself and checking yourself to be sure that you're not going to be judged, you're not able to perform to your true potential. You and your employers will lose the very best of you if you cannot bring your whole self to work. Does it mean that we all have to talk about our sexuality in the workplace? Walk around and thrust it in people's faces? Does it mean you have to be heard because of your sexuality? Not at all. It means that you have to be heard regardless of your sexuality. If you're good at your job, you are good at your job regardless of your sexual orientation. I, and very, very few others, I hope, would ever think that any of our straight colleagues were any smarter, more intelligent, or had more right to be heard than anyone else. Equality will allow all employees to flourish, regardless of their sexuality. And so, equality does matter in the workplace. Diversity will create a safe environment for your employees, but not only for your LGBT employees, for everyone at the firm. And in Ernst & Young, the Eagles Network, our gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender employee support group, we love acronyms at Ernst & Young, plays a big part in encouraging diversity. The network exists for over 5 years in Ireland now, and it serves a number of different purposes, and is one of several different networks within the firm, which include the Women's Network and the Interfaith Network as other examples. Eagles, like all of our networks, is open to everybody. Let me give you a sense, Jerry, of the role that the firm plays and describe a few of the things that we do that might inspire some of the things that you would also consider. Firstly, we act in a support role to our LGBT employees. Supporting LGBT employees, whether out in the workplace or not, is a key objective of any network. Through a mix of social, personal development initiatives, we're here to help our LGBT employees know that it is okay to be out in the workplace. We encourage buddying for new members and mentoring programs for longer-serving members of staff. By having a visible group within the firm, we are able to reach out to people and let them know that it's okay to have questions, to have fears, to have concerns, but there's somebody available to talk to answer those questions. Through coffee mornings, payday social drinks, lunches, and other events, network members can get together with each other to talk about their issues or concerns or questions, or, in most circumstances, just to have a bit of fun. We've also connected with other employee networks, bringing together groups from companies such as Google, Citi, Microsoft, and IBM through social and business forums. One such business forum was a joint presentation to HR and business leaders that we made a couple of years ago about the introduction of civil partnership legislation and the impact that that would have on employers. We talked there about the impact on the changes to pension rights and to tax. The support we provide, however, is not contained to our LGBT employees. One of the ideas that we're currently looking into is connecting with non-LGBT employees who might have questions themselves about LGBT matters. For example, consider the person at work whose teen son or daughter has just come out to them. Worrying about your children creates a barrier to bringing anyone's whole self to work. And so, by making ourselves visible and available to our colleagues, we hope that they have an outlet, a friend, someone they can talk to about their personal life as well as their professional. Our second area of work is very important and shouldn't be underestimated. We focus on working with leadership and on employment matters. Helping our employers understand the importance of diversity, not to mention their legal responsibilities and obligations, is a big part of what we try to do as a network. Going back to the example of the civil partnership legislation, this resulted in some significant changes for employers and employment policies. We were on hand as a group to help the firm understand what those changes were and how to test their proposed changes against what we were expecting. Pension entitlements, I'm delighted to say, were changed, not to mention the wedding gift available to all staff. The final area that the network seeks to consider is employee development of all staff. This is a relatively new ambition for the network, and we're currently exploring with our HR and learning development leaders ways in which we can educate and support our colleagues in their understanding of LGBT issues in the workplace. Because it is 100% true to say that even if we had no LGBT employees at Ernst & Young, we would still have to get this right. When I met with Jerry the other week, I recalled to him a story about something that happened to me a few years back in my early days as a trainee chartered accountant. Let me share it with you to illustrate what I mean. As part of a team, I and colleagues went to client premises for an assignment. We had our planning meeting, and one of our managers asked one of our male colleagues to go and have a meeting with the finance director. He went off, came back, and was asked, "How did you get on?" "Ooh, it was fabulous. He's great." We all sat there. Some of us were shocked. Some of us giggled. I said nothing. Whilst I am 100% certain there was no malice intended by my colleague's comments, there was also no recognition that he might have caused offence for meeting and reacting to working with an openly gay man. Things since then have thankfully changed, and we're seeking to continue to develop this change by making network members available to talk to senior colleagues as part of our ongoing unconscious bias programme. But this type of situation is not contained to professional services. All employers need to think about the behaviour of their staff when they meet customers, suppliers, advisors, or any other third party to whom they come into contact with. Do your employees display unconscious, or worst of all, conscious bias? Diversity in the workplace will encourage diversity outside the workplace. All of this makes us sound like we're brilliant, but no means are we resting on our laurels, and there's still a lot more to do. We're constantly striving to improve both the experiences for LGBT employees and the demonstration of our commitment to diversity and inclusiveness. Working, for example, with colleagues in the UK firm, we share ideas on developing members as well as the firm's commitment to inclusiveness. We're proud that the UK firm was a leading example in the EY network recently, having been awarded first place by Stonewall in their Workplace Equality Index, something we strive to emulate here in Ireland. We continually challenge ourselves, and this was a big driver for us signing up to the Diversity Champions programme with Glenn, for example, who we hope will keep pushing us harder and harder. In closing, I'd like to share some personal thoughts. I freely admit I've been extremely lucky in my career as an open gay woman. I've progressed quickly through the organisation, from when I moved here 14 years ago as a newly qualified senior accountant, making my way through 5 promotions in 6 years, to reach my current role as director in 2007. I have been lucky enough never to have experienced the glass ceiling. I've been lucky enough never to have felt marginalised or sidelined because of my sexuality. Of course I have faced challenge, but professionally, not personally. But I'm humble enough to know that this is not the experience of everybody working in the workplace. However, groups like Eagles, groups like this, and that of all employee networks, is a vital role in supporting all staff to make a change. In my view, whatever the change people are seeking to make, those who recognise that need for change have the responsibility to forge that change, to lead by example. And so I, and many others, are proud to work with our employers to make equality matter.